First, I'd like to start out by saying I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I know that there was a lot of content that's been coming out pretty quickly here, and I know a live just got posted. Um, but at the same time, I figured if there was anybody out there, and I know that the NFL playoffs are on, but honestly, like when it comes to moments like this, you put that kind of stuff to the side. Um, and we try to have a very, very important discussion. Because XRP is breaking down out of the bearish pennant. Um, I just want to share this. And it's very important. So if you are watching, a great thing you could do right now so we can try to push through the analytics and try to allow more people to see this. Because for whatever reason, when it's in a real time crunch situation, it'll make me work a lot harder for the viewers, which is fine. But I want everybody to be able to see this in real time because this is something a little bit different. So if you could really share this, I would appreciate it. We've been talking about this. I didn't want anybody to be blindsided by this. I always try to be very honest. I know it hurts my viewership when we're talking bearish, but I think at the end of the day, it helps my viewership. Maybe not in real moment viewers, but I do notice a lot of people will subscribe to my channel, even if they're not enjoying what's happening with crypto. They'll at least subscribe to my channel on the way out because at least they seen that I was trying to help or seen that I was accurate with where I said it was going. And then they'll come back. They'll come back and watch. So that's a good thing. So if you are here, I appreciate it. And we'll get into this very quickly. Good mid-afternoon, 3:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, January 25th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. J. Moore, how dare you? How dare you? It is a bearish pennant in the short term. No one's talking about the entire long-term XRP pattern. I appreciate your your input, but you have no idea what I'm talking about yet. So, how dare you? No, I'm just kidding. Good evening or good afternoon, Jay Moore. Let's not try to, deflect off of the topic at hand here in the immediate moment. So you're gonna trick people into thinking that something's not what it is, and then that can sometimes in the audience we got to keep our comments to ourselves just so we can get into the flow, and then we can start pulling it out farther. But again, I shout out the members of Tom's Army. Each and every one of you are the proud sponsors of this very beautiful community that we built. And I can't thank you enough. As to where most communities have sponsors that they talk about for 2.5 minutes or so on each side of the break or each side of whatever. My audience, the paid members of Tom's Army, is why you are watching this live without ads. I will put ads on for the rerun, but during the lives themselves, you don't have to be interrupted, and just thank the members of Tom's Army at the very least. So let's get into this. XRP breaking down out of a bearish pennant is what is happening. It was in a symmetrical triangle to the downside. We came in from a weak angle. And by definition, a symmetrical triangle that has a continuation to the downside is a bearish pennant. Longer, the farther out time frames we can debate. But you can't debate what it's in and what it was falling outside of. So, in the immediate time frame, falling outside of this, we set up the targets for anybody who was here this morning. I know, it's already another live. Probably didn't have to do another one. It'll probably overshadow my other content. But I feel like for anybody like me who is not just obsessed, but who likes to watch and start to jot down different numbers. Wow, it deleted some of our stuff from earlier, which is pretty interesting. I think it's a fascinating thing to do. And we even looked at this from other perspectives that everybody talked about, which was pretty interesting. We not even just what other people talked about, but just what it could have been building. And we had a nice discussion, but obviously this is now broken down. So that's not even relevant now in the new pattern. you know. So we can just draw it back to what it was, you know, just what was set up for this pennant. And then we can go from there. Because I definitely want it to be set back up now that we're back live. So this I want to put back to this. And you could even tighten this up, but I think let's not tighten it up. Let's just have it like this. Because then the third tap was right. It basically hit it right here, bounced up and came through. And it even back tested the former breakdown, which I don't really want to keep this up here because that's going to illustrate an area that was only relevant for that day. But I want to make sure we have the wider, you know, the wider landscape here because you got to look at this for what it is. So there's your bearish pennant from a longer scale. And I want to get rid of this in this chart, and I want to get rid of this because this is, although that's the over-the-top resistance, but we can very easily set all this back up. It's just like here, you have all this artificial stuff. Our expectation was that this inverse pattern, because of what XDC did, was going to break down. So shoulder, head, possible shoulder. Our interpretation was it was going to break down and invalidate this down at the head, which means it would have to break through $1.78. But that was our interpretation of this, just because of what, and mainly not just because of XDC, but because we had no volume on the push-up. It was a volumeless push-up. And now what ends up happening is we can argue, we can start to have a logical debate here of what's going on. You know, do you start the bear flag? Do you start it here? Is this the bear flag? Like, is that a flag? It came here and dropped down. Do you want to have a mini flag? I don't think that's what we're looking at here, though. I think when you look at this from a wider scope, you know, I think what's actually, I mean, could you look at it from here? Because that would definitely be interesting. What I did was I just came from here and said, you know, we got a logical setup here, but I'm not even looking at it from that standpoint. All I'm looking at it is in the shorter time frame. Whatever happens above it, so be it. All I care about is the symmetrical setup that broke down. Because I'm not trying to build the pattern any deeper except what it shows me. So that's how we get $1.73. Well, coming down to $1.73 doesn't, I mean, it, the interesting part is like shoulder, head. If it comes to $1.73, it comes below the head. So you can't even claim unless we're doing some weird stuff here. But it looks like to me, like if we break down much farther, we're going to find ourselves in a very tricky spot here within these charts because we've got two things we can look at. We could come down here and be like almost like in this descending, I suppose, if we want to try to play it off as something positive, a descending wedge right here. But that would require us to hit $1.69. If we look at it in the worst case, we're in this descending triangle, and that third tap would force us back down to about $1.50. Let's see. And we can continue with this chart. Somewhere around $1.56, $1.53 maybe if it hits here in early February. But that's the, so I said $1.58, but that's inaccurate because it's, I keep forgetting it's come down farther here and it's descending well, maybe slightly. I don't know. Maybe we could draw this off as something. It looks pretty flat though. Even though it's slightly, it still looks a little flat. Either way though, it might have, man, even if we hold, that would still require it to come down that far. That's a pretty far drop even from here. But that's what it looks like it's trying to do. It really looks like it's trying to push down in that area. And then if that broke down, the crazy thing would be is that would bring us back to where we had a breakout in 2017 to 2024. We would back test the breakout for the first time. And that's why that breakdown to me is interesting. Now, the other interesting factor is what if this doesn't break down and we hold the $1.53 and validate it as a triple bottom? So resistance, resistance, support, 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 back up to the top. This could pretty much bring us back up to $4. And I'm still watching that scenario. This would be as if, remember our bullish megaphone on XRP? If it stays open, if we don't break down and I keep it on here, if it stays open, even on our megaphone, as long as we hold that, that would stretch us thin. $1.62. So we can't necessarily, well, that's $1.69 on this one, so that would be fine. But $1.53 would bring us too far. That would invalidate on the onset, but it might be just a wider pattern. It might just be wider, that's all. So we might have just had to open it up, and that's what this chart's for, so that we don't get too psyched out. Whoops. If it comes through that area. So just pay attention. And then this is important because this is where we technically could have created what could come to be known as like a descending triangle or a bearish bearish breakdown. But honestly, I'm going to hold some hope here that it's slightly, I don't know. But basically your make it or break it floor is $1.50. I have levels at those $1.60 areas as well. I think it's a very good level to have, honestly. Well, because and it's important because they have different setups and different meanings. That's why, like I told everybody this morning, Furby Trades, I said, like some of them saying here, like MQ and U, it's good to mark up the charts. You got to mark the charts up because if you don't have a bunch of different charts within the same chart, it's how can you know all the levels? That's why I have so many charts. They all have their own universal code. What is this? Jay for Mix, welcome in, and thanks not only for joining Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens, and that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge, but also join the live classes. How awesome is that? I think you're number 19. Starts February 2nd. It's going to be such an awesome journey. I can't thank you enough for putting your faith and trust into me. That is awesome. That's awesome. If it goes to $4, I think we're going to sell most of our bags. I wouldn't be so sure about that, my friend, Mr. Stott. If it goes to $4, we have no reason to finish the technical moves up, which leaves a lot of meat on the bone still. I just wouldn't want you to sell it short. You know, don't sell it too soon. If we come back to those areas, I'm very confident. Because we would have took out some of these lower lows. And that's why I'm hoping to take these out. $4 is 7 years ago. Yep. Basically what we did was we got into Discovery, reopened it up this year. And now with everything we're diving down, if we can clear all of these gaps and all these zones, I mean, you could open up an expansive move. It's just how many people are going to be around for that expansive move. You know, can I just say I'm thrilled that 76 of you are taking the time to watch this when the NFL is in the Final Four right now. It's incredible. What's not incredible is XRP's down 5% on the day, or better than 24% on the year now, roughly, from the January high. But at least nobody can say nobody could see it coming because we've been projecting this. So we're not tooting our community's horn, but what we're saying is we at least have enough understanding to where we don't get caught up in the mumbo jumbo. And, well, what I'm going to do is I like to watch the analytical side of it. And, in the NFL playoffs, sometimes I might put a little something, but it has to be a special circumstance. But there's only a couple different things I allow myself even to consider. But it's my Michigan teams, but futures. But I haven't been doing what I used to do on sports betting, so it might not even appeal to me in that way because it hasn't even appealed to me lately, so... But I look for anomalies for like in the script. So today, when you're looking at Denver versus the Rams, I don't think the Rams are getting to the Super Bowl. Stafford, I know, blows. They can jerk him off and suck him off all across everywhere they want. But when he was actually the leader of a team and they didn't have to depend on, good players, like the best players in the league, he couldn't get it done. He cost us many of chances at a Super Bowl or any kind of run. But it's all scripted. So I think Stenham, think about this. I think when we look back on it, I looked at the numbers. He's projected to get over 0.5 touchdowns, but if he goes 1.5, Yeah, like, I don't remember what the plus was, but something tells me Stidham is going to somehow, they need a miraculous story. He's going to somehow lead Denver to the Super Bowl, and he's been riding the bench. And then next year, somehow this guy's going to get a huge like, that's something that I play in my head. They almost gave a gift because if Denver has any chance, he's going to have to throw for, unless he runs in one, which is possible. But I think no one's going to bet this guy to throw 2 touchdowns. I think he's got a better chance of throwing 2. Wait a minute, he's not even, is he even, wait a minute, who the hell is Stafford playing? Denver. No. Denver, Stafford's playing Seattle. I'm not talking about that asshole. He's going to lose to Seattle probably. But that's the storyline. Cooper Kupp versus Matthew Stafford. The old Gimp gets back. Anyhow, I don't even care about all that. That stuff. But yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was looking at that 2 touchdown. Because it seems like we're going to look back and say, wow, this guy came off the bench. Who would have thought he would have thrown for, 2 or 3 touchdowns? I don't know if I'd go out on a limb with 3. I'm just saying that's the kind of storyline you're looking for. Let's see. Well, for XRP, I mean, it is what it is. We kind of got to wait this out. Yeah, just like Nick Foles, it's all an illusion. We could have one of those stories, but I'm not sure they're going to win the Super Bowl. I could see it being, I don't know. I kind of feel like they wanted to run the Bo Nix angle, but I could also see the Seattle angle as well. I could see Seattle's angle. Plus, the guy there is a proven champion. That's Mike McDonald. He was on Michigan staff when they won the national championship. Of course, he's a winner. That's a winner. Anyhow, let's change this. Lost 10% of the viewing audience talking about that crap. That's okay. Sometimes we have to live vicariously. So what do we think for XRP in the comments? Do you think we're going to continue down to that $1.73 projected move out of this bearish pennant? Do you think maybe we built something a little bit deeper as we see that very wide downtrending resistance, and now we can put a very confirmed, pattern consolidation here at least? If you just extend it across. I mean, do you look at it that wide and say, well, this could be even worse because that's an extended out? Do we come down farther? Do we start testing that $1.53? Is this a case where we go to $1.73 and we're going to be so overextended, and then we can reassess that gap from Friday and be like, hey, we've got some resistance above that we could likely go up and retest for XRP at $1.92. So $1.73 back to $1.92. Then we start to go into the scenario I talked about we don't want to be in. Okay, now all of a sudden our big bounce back up is either from $1.53 or $1.73 area. And then we could look for a rejection back around $1.92 or $1.94. If that was the case, that would take away a lot of our projection, in the immediate short term, as far as the projection of the buyers coming in and sending us to a 260 zone. The farther we go down this path, the less likely we are to even tap the 264 until sometime in the future. If we continue down this road, it's going to be very telling today what happens when silver comes on, because in Shanghai, it's like $140 or some crap. So we aren't even in the ballpark yet. For $1.73, if we continue down immediately, this would be an immediate target. I talked the other day, even today and earlier, and yesterday, especially when it was in the $1.90s range, and today when it was at $1.86, and said this is immediate moves. We go all of a sudden from down, like I said yesterday, 3% to all of a sudden facing 15-20. Now all of a sudden, if you combine yesterday and today, here we are. Just out of curiosity, I want to see what's happening here. I told everybody this morning about this token too. I know it was up big, but this is a natural projection. It sends up one of these shit tokens now because they sold out of their team. And they bring it up for a second, show some interest, and then they just drop it back down. They pull one of them that's easy. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this can continue any steam, but now it's just down so far that is not what you want to see. There's so much pressure pulled down. It almost turns itself into a bearish doji if it comes down any farther. Like, that's not what you want to... Well, we'll see. I don't want to speak out of turn. Let's see. I would definitely start watching MicroStrategy if we have a big dump on Monday. Just hear me out. We've been watching it for a while. If it comes down and we end up finding ourselves at the bottom of these support structures with a breakdown, let's just say it breaks down out of this, because this looks like a bearish... We can't even say a... Because if you go from there... I don't think you can say it. But it seems like it's setting up something relatively bearish. Let's just call it for what it is, like a right shoulder. But if it did break down, you are getting some rather big buy-ins from... We talked about it earlier. Who was it? Why am I drawing a blank? Can somebody help me? Who made the big investment into MicroStrategy? I could look it up. I think it might even be on here still. I guess it's not on here. Maybe we just talked about the... I know we talked about the pilot program, which we can go over again. Vanguard, thank you. Vanguard. Yeah, Vanguard made a really large purchase into MicroStrategy. And it was supposedly to get Bitcoin exposure, which is something I talked about, the institutional money, and that's a big red flag. Some people find that bullish for Bitcoin. I disagree. If money is willing to put all that money, if Vanguard's going to put all that money into crypto, but they did it in the way that was my fear, my conspiracy long ago and even more now, is that the money, instead of finding its way into crypto, they're just going to buy it, not into just ETFs, but now MicroStrategy positioned themselves as the world's largest holder of Bitcoin. Bitmine Immersions, with Tom Lee's company, has positioned themselves as the world's largest holder of Ethereum. So now, instead of all those billions of dollars coming into crypto, it was a ton of shares. Like, it was a ton of shares. $18.5 million shares to 20 million shares. That is worth $3 billion. They've got $3 billion that could have went into crypto. That's in MicroStrategy now. That's the whole point. So that's $3 billion that didn't find itself into Bitcoin. But what they did is they put it into MicroStrategy. And I've been talking about this for a long time with MicroStrategy. It is... Here, let's get rid of this crap. It is building something. The question is... I mean, with the way the market is, there's no way this is going to open up. Usually, it not only goes up fast with the market, it sinks faster than the market as well. So when you buy it, it's all about timing. Now, Vanguard could be throwing you off here because this looks like a bearish close at the end of the week. But we'll have to see how this plays out. But to me, this doesn't look good to end the week. You know, the weekly is moving up. The monthly's pretty flat. So it's going to eventually break out. But to me, the daily's pushing down. The way the weekly ended, it still looks like to me that if we're being honest with ourselves with this pattern, I don't much like it. Like, that looks like a bearish flag. Or that doesn't look good to me. I mean, I can try to convince myself it's not what it seems. But to me, what I see is, okay, I see a great opportunity. And it can prove me wrong and break out, like I said before. But to me, it seems like it's going to at least come down here. And then if this whole thing breaks down, I mean, it looks like to me we could find ourselves easily under $100. Like, that, you prove to me that that's not a topping reversal that's going to bend us all over in deep pants. I don't care what Vanguard did yet. Vanguard doesn't care if they're way up or down. They got to put something because they have big gains somewhere else. They don't mind writing off a few losses if it takes a little while. I don't even know why Vanguard made that purchase there. It's a very suspicious and awe-inspiring weird pattern or weird purchase. But they can sense exhaustion maybe. I don't know. Unless they know MicroStrategy is going to have good earnings, but I can't see that being the case. Bitcoin's getting the shit beat out of it. So when they have earnings, half their fucking books are on Bitcoin now. So I can't see that being the case. And you're talking about their company. I'll be interested. I already told you guys. I'll be interested in MicroStrategy if it can break out. Probably not if it breaks out. And probably not even at that level. It's probably going to take something extraordinary. Although, you know, if it went down there, I'd consider. Because then I know it would have a big move up for a back test. But I mean, if it broke down and this was actually a bearish consolidation, we'll just call it for whatever we want. I would go $73, and even that might not be good enough. Well, that would be good enough because that would back test this area where the big cup was formed. So I guess that would. I don't know though. I mean, look at this. On what planet does that look bearish or bullish? Makes me wonder what Vanguard's motive is. But if it can push out in the micro here and it can actually start to push through, I can look at this in a way where I can be like, okay, maybe the break has started, because if I pull it back here, I kind of like looking at it like this. It gives me a little bit more breathing room of what I want to see, but it's one of these things. Like, I want to look at it like this personally, because if I look at it like this, I don't want to look at the down right now. If I look at it like this, I can almost see. I can't tell if it's exhaustion right here, but I know we're getting close. It's just, I don't know. I've seen these setups before, and the reason why it looks a little tempting to end the week, but then if Bitcoin is down, it does it in the miners a lot. They'll set you up on these kind of things, and since this is nothing more than a miner now to Bitcoin, even though not in the same sense as a real miner, it's playing off the price. We don't even have to, we can just cut the shit. This isn't a real company anymore. It's just a big institutional miner of Bitcoin in a different way. So, and because there's nothing to mine, they just, you know, inflate artificial tokens for them. So anyhow, I've seen this a lot. If Bitcoin's down, don't be surprised if MicroStrategy ends up down rather significantly to start the day. If this continues, just like Bitmine, I don't care what it looks like on a Friday close. Don't be surprised if this guy, after rejection here, starts down somewhere towards the bottom in a pretty significant way if this actually plays out going into Monday. Because while this has been closed over the weekend, Ethereum's taken quite the bent over deep pantsing. And it's down better than 5% today. Let's not even. We talked about all of this. They were all set in bear flags, bearish pennants. And I know a lot of people told me, hey, the bearish pennant, blah. And I understand that it doesn't always play out, and it's only 60% of the time. But in the direction it was going, in a bear market, I believe instead of it being 60%, it upgrades the odds. I'm going to go with the trend until it kicks me in the nuts. How about that? How about them marbles? So Ethereum, since the start of the weekend, after the Friday close in the futures, I mean, you're talking about, we've had a pretty big drop here. It's going to have to account for. As of right now, it's better than 7%. If this whole thing plays down, I mean, we're not even getting started yet. You're going to be talking about coming near the $2,400 level again. These are not, I mean, and what is getting missed is we're on a wider topping reversal that if this drops down, if this was a fake out, like we were theorizing because of what Ethereum, what XDC did, saying it is not the exception to the rule, it's actually leading the market. We're going to get bent over to 1600 if this keeps playing out. I'm just saying, this would come to 1600. It would have been too early to break out of whatever the heck it's trying to do here. And even worse, if it broke down, that's where you get to these ridiculous levels. But I'm just saying, we're starting to put ourselves in a situation here where we're breaking through some pretty critical support areas, and now you start talking, okay, we're down 5.1% today, 25% on the month. Tomorrow we're down another 6, then we're down another 7, then we're down another 8, then we're down another 3. Hey, we had a recovery of 11, but that's cumulatively still down like 20 just in those 4 days. I mean, that's what it's been doing. So You know, but has anything gone different than what we've been talking about as a collective group? I think we've been on the money here, and that's not to brag. I just think as a group, we've been doing a good job. Some people said I didn't flex in my other live when I was doing my live, and I did not. But I will right now. When you can dominate these markets, well, no, that's been 3.5 years of solid work. You know, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. I guess that shows that I've been dedicated. I love it. Mark Casson, welcome in, and thanks for being in Town's Arm for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. Nick Nack Paddywhack, give a dog a bone. Number 2 top fan in the live. Elmer, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. Also, a top fan. Do I have a permit for these guns, Zarelli? I do not. Be kind to me. Be kind, don't turn me in. Welcome in, love. I'm so glad to see you in here, actually, honestly. So glad. Miss Jan, welcome in. Been in this audience for a very long time. One of the top 3 longest members in Tom's Army. Over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. Thank you so much, Jan. I really appreciate your support over the years. I really do. Mules, good evening or good afternoon. It's still snowing here, guys. My mom's staying over again. She's playing with tea, and Julie went to rest, so I said I'm gonna do a live here for a little bit. Figured I could do 45 minutes or an hour and there'd be no problem. Do I know anything about reactive? Not off the top of my head. I can't think of anything reactive. Skill says the type to hype people for liquidity. Did I miss your other comment? Let's see, skill. Unless I said, oh, I gotcha. Because of what I said about Vanguard. Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because honestly, think about it. How many people do you think rushed in today after the news of Vanguard yesterday or early morning? And then look what happens the very next morning. Literally, the whole market's getting, you would look at it as a rug for Bitcoin's down, what, 3.2%? Ethereum's down 5.3%. Remember, we just had news of a big purchase of an Ethereum as well. And everybody was all excited about it. Where do I think the bottom is? I think we're going towards at some point here $1.53 to figure that out. Even if we bounce at $1.73 at some point, obviously there's one level to watch. $1.80, if somehow it held on to, maybe you could have some solace. But I think we have a meeting of destiny right around $1.53. I do. Whether you want to call it a descending triangle or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter to me what you call it. Symmetrical or a downward wedge, it doesn't matter. I think we have a meeting with this particular target or this particular pattern, and I really don't know if there's anything we're going to be able to say about it anymore. It's put ourselves in a spot now where it almost seems like this is what we're destined to do. And now it looks weird because this one on the October 10th historic liquidation, this is where it dropped to, which gave it a lot of credibility for this on this exchange. It made me look at it a long time ago and say, holy shit. Here's your outlier. Here's the outlier. And it's not $1.53. It's $1.56. I kept saying $1.58. $1.56 right now. So $1.56. I'm sorry. Misspoke. But that's where it looks like it wants to go. But to get there, we have to see if, in fact, we go past that $1.69 or $1.68, which I think has more of a chance to hit than just that flat $1.73. I think it would come down into that $1.70 area. So yeah, that's fair. That's a fair area. And then if that busts, I mean, you see the short term is playing us down to 173. You start opening up the support structures. We start talking about an expanding support down here. Well, they start to open up. This is down all the way to that $1.60 area, but you have to get through some of the other ones we talked about. So I'm looking at in time, and then this is even farther. If we can't hold $1, well, this is that dollar. Oh, that's the $1.58. Oh, that's where that came from. I'm like, where the hell did that dollar? I was looking through these charts like, where's the $1.58? I was just assuming I looked at the other one higher. No, because in real time, this actually would push it lower. Yeah, so $1.56 is better in real time. But anyhow, I'm looking at this chart. This is the, because even this chart at least validates it in almost like a downward channel, which could be looked at as bullish if it holds. And then this one, because of the historic liquidation, how it came down, it opens that same area, which now I have a lot more credibility for that area. But then if we can hold that area, this could be super bullish if we don't break down. So I don't care about anything under it. $1.56 is what I'm looking at. If $1.56 breaks or we retake $1.94, it seems like such a bullish area either way. Because $1.94 held would tell me on a close, but it would have to be in a daily, or $1.95 if you want more room. If you want to get frisky, $1.96 so you have more understanding and verification. But that would open up the door to at least a move to like 216, you would think. But that's not the ultimate bullish. If we get down to $1.56 and hold that, you would have a test, okay? And here's what I'm all for, and this is where I'm going to adapt to the whole market if we do this. If XRP's at $1.56, the whole market's in play once we get down there. Then it allows you a 28% move to try to come back up to this descending, whatever the fuck you want to... Oh, excuse me, this is a family-friendly show. Whatever in the old playing field you want to call this would be right around $2 and... Let's see in real time. We'll say it would take us about $2.10. You get on top of that, then logic says you start opening up the door to a massive... Then we can start talking about this big 146% in cumulative move. But that would take patience, as we've said, and you have to wait it out until $1.56 because it's going to get there quick when it starts going. It's just, can we get past some of these areas without a substantial bounce back? I watch you every day. Excellent. Thank you so much, Horace. I appreciate that. I watch you every day. Man, you're so inspiring. Thank you for your dedication and determination to give us the best quality and tell possible, or as much tell as much as possible. Much love, tell possible. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much, Horace. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. That's kind. That is very kind of you. Horse says I got in and got out. This shit is so confusing. It is. It's confusing, but just stay around for a while. I am teaching classes for anybody who, wants to take it a step farther. And it goes way outside of just the charts, but it starts February 2nd. But all of this that I do every single day is still going to be the same. It's just we're going to take it a little bit farther. I'm trying to bet on myself a little bit deeper and the rest of the community that wants to. So for anybody who's interested, that's the video description below and our pinned comments of this live where that takes you. We had one person join the live classes that'll be starting, what is that, about 7 days from now. Not this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday. We're only one Monday away now. Excellent. Can we please look at PLG? Absolutely, too, Raven. Just for you, my friend. Thank you for being in Tom's Army for 2+ years. XRP 589 Moon Badge. I'm not laughing at you. I'm talking at Zig, who's part of Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor, and also Clam Belly's welcome, and Frankie Fresh and Janine. Two beautiful souls. Janine, I love you. You too, Frankie Fresh. I hope your hand's doing a lot better here this afternoon, I should say, as we get through almost January. Can you believe that? But Zig said family-friendly show laughing. That's what made me start laughing. I read that. But let's look at PLG for our friend Two Ravens. Nobody can teach TA class better than Tom. I agree with that. There's probably some that are probably better and more qualified, but at least with the way I do it. But also, it's deeper than just TA. You're going to learn so much outside of just TA that it's going to legitimately knock your socks off. So PLG, this is a phenomenal rally right now, and the daily's not topped out yet. We're still in a very favorable spot. The short target we might have almost hit. It's right about $3.58. But the technical target out of a many year consolidation going all the way back, for any of our new fans, and the reason people are asking about, well, I'll tell you. This is going all the way back to, let's see, from 2017. My theory is this is building the inverse head that we're breaking out of, and it'll look something like that in the future. So MQ, myself, a few others, we've diagnosed. MQ brought it to us to look at hardcore. I mean, I talked about it in the middle of summer, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, MQ had brought up some very enlightening details about where it was at in the pattern. And when I looked at it, I said, holy smokes. And that was before Christmas, and we started talking about it a lot. Somewhere around, it was not November, it was when it started the consolidation. It was right around Christmas. It came down here, New Year. We got onto it hardcore talking about it. And then all of a sudden, right in this area, we started really talking about it because it came down and we said, there's no reason for this. It's in a very bullish consolidation here at the back end of a possible, not just a big breakout, but this would be a positioning changing trajectory for this particular company. And with the appreciation of platinum, and I think it still has much appreciation to go, I ended up putting a total of just over 4,000 shares into this particular company. Anywhere between that $2.30 and all the way up to $2.52 or whatever this was over here somewhere. And then it came back down here. Yeah, it might have been, where was this at when it came down? There was a 250 something wick. I think it was 258 or 257, one of the two. But that was the last one I bought. I expanded into it deeper because there was just no reason. It came all the way up here to 294, dropped all the way into the 250s, and we even came on and said, listen, guys, like, you want an opportunity, this is one of them. And it broke out of this target. The first projection was 358, and it's done all of that. It moved on Friday almost 19%, not including the couple of percent in after hours. But from the day before, we're up about 30% in the last 2 days on PLG. And it honestly, if this is actually breaking out, it's got much higher targets. Now, obviously, it can take a lot of time, but there are legitimately, much higher targets here. So, what are we looking for to start the week? It's impossible to say until I can see the price of platinum, but that volume predicts price. You want to break out with volume. I would say that condition's met. I would say that condition's met. Not only did we break back out, but that is some significant volume that flowed in on Friday. You can see it. It's picking up. That's what we're not seeing in cryptocurrency. See this volume? Look at that. Are we breaking out? That's almost all-time high volume. We only had one long wick. Look at this. This pile of volume's all-time. So that's when I was starting to really hone in MQ. When we started talking about that gap in the live, we're like, holy crap. And then I didn't know I was going to go so deep. But I've had oil capital sitting there, and I still have like 16,000 or so liquid, I think, in that account. It just sits there for opportunity, like with PLG. Oh, yeah, BITI. I remember we were talking about, or you were talking about it. BIT. Oh, wait a minute. BITI. I remember you talked about this for the short on Bitcoin. Because that's a big inverse setup here. And that looks like, now on Monday, this could open up high. With the way the market's going, it might have already been an opportunity that should have been put into on Friday. But I remember you talking about this. This is a perfect inverse pattern. And this is how people play the market, folks. Instead of shorting Bitcoin on leverage, they go into the inverse ETFs. It's a lot less risk. You can lose money, but you're not going to get that forced liquidation off the bat. I mean, this is pretty much, looks like it's set up in a proper flag even. Boom, boom. Oof. If this goes properly, I mean, you could see a big move. I mean, at least up to here. This could rotate out. I don't really want to divulge into that too much MQ on this one, just for reasons. But yeah, definitely a nice tip. A nice tip there. We'll see how it goes. Bitcoin is down 2.85% on the day. And with Bitcoin, we broke this down very deeply in the first live. We've got to come down below. And it already filled out the first. Okay, this target's filled out already from yesterday. But now we've got to break this 86,100 approximately, and then you can start coming down to either 83,713, 79,973, 74,344. However, this target's going to change a little bit because it took longer. 74th. I mean, there's so many different areas we can start talking about. It's pretty crazy. None of it's good. It's not good. This gives you a little bit more of a free look. 75,659 or 67,679. None of this looks particularly good to me. You know, not yet. But the line in the sand is we didn't completely break down, I guess, if that's a line in the sand. But that means this target's just getting started kind of thing. But, I mean, if we pull it back, maybe we could keep ourselves from kicking ourselves in the nuts too much. But I don't know. Because something tells me we did something like this and it's enforcement. This is a proper understanding of what we're seeing here. So something tells me that we are not misaligned. Maybe we put the target a little too far down. Now that we have all the evidence, would you go like this? I'll just go like this to give us a short target, okay? We don't want to scare people today. I think we're already scaring people. Like, I'm fuck. 79,627. Does that make people feel better on Bitcoin? Totally awesome. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat and being in tons of 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Yes and no. Yes and no. I think I'll be able to, at least the ones that are on Facebook, I can't do because they're too small. But the ones you sent me on the Telegram, I think most of them that I can blow them up enough to where I can see it. It just made them a little small. Scare away, Tom. I'm not sure it could get much worse for me. I know. But it just, we have to be honest with what we're looking at. I think that's pretty fair what we're looking at for Bitcoin. And that as well looks like a bearish pennant. Now, I'm not trying to piss people off, which means that short target I gave you is all bullshit as far as it being the worst it can be. The worst it could actually be out of this bearish pennant is this target. That's where we get this guy, the 67,000 guy. You know, but we got to take one step at a time. We don't want people to jump out the building. Look, 20% of the people have left with this bearish talk. And I'm sick of this guy. I'm just going to go watch the NFL if I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to go gamble on FanDuel, damn it. Oh, Nick, which is Furby Trades, very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram along with the MQ. But Nick, those scary levels are so scary that people don't want to talk about. This is just the immediate. God forbid we break this, where it would be just the back test here, remember? It's just back testing this area. The moment you break this area, nah. Where do we stop? Let's take a look. So, logic says we never back tested the breakout at 50. Well, it wasn't 57 at the time, but it's taken so long that it lines up with about 57,000. And that, ironically, is a nice target out of the rising wedge that we broke down out of. Now, we don't need to acknowledge the patterns, but hey, they are the patterns, and people say technicals don't matter. Only if you don't want to lose, or if you don't want to make money. The last person who asked the person, you know, that tells you that technicals don't matter the last time they filed a tax return for gains in any asset class. I don't care if it's crypto, stock market, doesn't matter. Most people don't have a taxable return because they haven't made anything. So of course they're going to say technicals don't matter. You know, and that's just, you don't have to ask them that, but just assume it. Honestly, if the levels we talked about yesterday hit, it would still be able to bounce now. By bounce could just be a back test. Yep, and that's the thing. Like right now, $1.80 hasn't given way. So that's why I came on and said we have the hope that maybe because the CME futures closed at $1.9205 on Friday, maybe that does give us that not just bearish pressure, but the fact that so many longs have been accumulated out now from the long perspective, maybe we would take out some shorts to $1.92 with some overconfidence breaking out of the bear flag or the bearish pennant and back test the move that put us down there. It would make sense. It would make sense to have that happen. But is it going to happen? I don't know. This is certainly not the area I'd want to be making a decision on, to be honest. This is not, you don't want to be trading this, like either way. This is where they got one nut in a vise and the other one in a freaking under the car tire kind of thing. Which one hurts more? I don't know. Like they're dropping a cylinder block on one side and a brick on the other. I mean, we'll take our chances with the brick, I guess, over a cylinder. I don't know. But can I once again commend this audience for having 90 people here with the playoffs on? It's astounding to me. I know I got to get going here. It's been 50 minutes and I got my mom here and everything, and I will go. But I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is always fun. Always fun. There's always a lot of info. I always gain a lot. And for anybody who didn't hear the news earlier, XRP is being test piloted at a fast food chain, KFC, in Phoenix, Arizona, as part of the test pilot program. Now, there was great questions that I can't answer. One, are you being taxed on these transactions? Which to me is a great and astute question. A great and astute question. I don't know. Two, how does it calculate the price in real time if you're crashing or having a big run? Like today, if I went through the drive-through, my KFC cost 4% more than it did earlier. Right now. Like if I went yesterday, now all of a sudden the prices look 4% more expensive. Now, is that KFC's fault? Or is that the value of my XRP? Like, how do they calculate it? So I believe so as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, hopefully for crypto, they do put it at a zero, like a capital gains, and they erase it. But until they do, this sucks. This sucks. So for Bitcoin, I mean, that's all we're watching, what we talked about. Now, the retest level, if it wants to break back up, could give you back to almost 90,700. But I'm watching this very closely. But I'm gonna go catch up with everybody. Thank you all so much for giving me almost 3 hours today, because we did an hour and 40 plus minutes earlier. At least 2.5 total here, 2 hours and 45 minutes. But I'll try to keep you guys updated. If you want more information too when I'm not live, go to my Facebook page. It's a beautiful page. We've been just crushing it in views. We've had, in the last 14 days, there's been like 1.4 million views. Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Couple thousand new subscribers in the last 2 weeks. It's been crazy. Engagement's off the charts lately. Just, what the hell is all this? I can't even show everybody what I want to show because I'm too stupid to figure it out. Look at that. Anyhow, but if you want to see some other stuff, there's, and this shows you how many people just have joined on the last couple weeks. Like, that's an incredible amount of people. Could only desire that for YouTube. But I do talk about a lot of stuff. We got the XDC news and what it can do. Talked about BlackRock dumping 101.6 million in Bitcoin. It said Bitcoin. Talked about the silver decoupling. We talked about the XRP stuff. We've talked about chasing the bullshit. We've talked about how, it's 1/100th of an ounce is the US dollar is worth 1/100th of an ounce of gold, silver, which is insanity. There's just so much stuff that you can get outside of here if you want to stay connected. And I can do that easier because I can just comment on my phone or have AI help me write up my thoughts, because I just talk into AI and then I ask it to write it out for me. And then when it does its bullshit, I have to correct it 700. Just for me to get the visual today for YouTube, it took me like 27 minutes of trying to get AI to do it right. So it's no fun, but it's worth it. So be blessed. Thank you all so much. Like, I really, really, really genuinely appreciate all